Okay, welcome to our 2020 update and a bit of a review. A strange year, a different year, that's for sure. And yeah, I guess our project and Night Fright has been affected in the same way that everybody else has, really. So we started off the year with sort of lots of positive plans and lots of ideas. We broke the project down into sort of subsections and tasks, and we were looking to really kick on throughout this year. So we started off looking at structural stuff and just trying to complete that side of the project before we returned to the interior of the aircraft and the detailing that we love, really. And that was sort of January, February. And then, of course, come the beginning of March, everybody knows what happened. And, we backed off the project and probably didn't return probably until late August, early September, really, in earnest. So it was a good 4 or 5 month break from the project, and it was difficult. The guys were sort of ticking along, I suppose, doing a little bit here and a little bit there, but nothing serious. And the majority of the workforce and the labour didn't return until September, really. But that said, it's been a very positive end to the year, and the last sort of 2 or 3 months have seen some really exciting progress and little bits of the project that we'll talk about in some more detail. One of the major decisions we had to make was what we were going to do with Night Fright's wings. And I know that sounds obvious, but we kind of had two plans, really. Plan A, the very initial plan, was to use the original wings from Night Fright. Of course, as you know, we're all about detail and we're all about originality, but Plan B, or a backstop, or whatever you want to call it, really, was to use an additional set of wings that were here at Coventry, just because it was the most expeditious method. And as you know, we were trying to meet certain deadlines, and that obviously would have helped us. But once we'd missed the 75th anniversary of D-Day in June last year, then we decided to do everything possible to make Night Fright as detailed as possible and use as many original parts as we could. And essentially that led to us using the original wings, and that's been quite a task, a process that we started probably 6 weeks ago. We got 2 dedicated operatives running the wings project, and yeah, it's been a big process, and a process that we're sort of halfway through. So let's go and have a look at how they're doing it and what they've been up to. The first part of the process really is to de-skin the lower surfaces of the wings, which is probably a 3.5 week job. It sounds simple, but it's a massive job for 2 people to drill off those skins. And then what we needed to do is look inside, get Ben and Tom, etc., to inspect and see if any repairs were required. If they were, what they were, how we were going to go about them. And then essentially it's a case of paint stripping the interior of the wings, protecting them with some anti-corrosive inhibitant, some etch primer, and re-skinning them. But all in all, that's probably a 3 to 4 month project for 2 guys. So it's serious. But yeah, let's go and have a look inside. So you can see some of these stringers need replacing. Some of them are loose if we can find one. So lots of these stringers need replacing. Some of these stringer cleats need replacing. There's a little bit of corrosion in one of the spar caps, the spar rails. So we need to splice a new section in there. And it's a lot of work. You can see the detail involved, and even paint stripping and power washing and cleaning these wings is a massive job. But it's a great bit of progress, nice visual progress, and a real boost for the team here as well. So you can see the difference. I mean, the wing we were looking at there initially is still in the process of being cleaned. They're hoovering out all of the loose debris. It will then go outside and be paint stripped and power washed. But yeah, you can see the difference here. We've got some etch primer on this wing, and it looks absolutely fantastic. And we've got to say a huge shout out to the guys at Indestructible Paints as well, who continue to support us throughout the project. So we're hugely grateful to those guys. The paint looks absolutely fantastic when it's applied. But obviously, we've still got the repairs to carry out to this wing, but it's fantastic to see a bit of green paint back on, and we can't wait to see them finished. The plan is to go straight through to top coat and put the final paint finish on these wings once the repairs are complete. So that'll be the first parts of the aircraft in top coat, which will be tremendously exciting. On the other side of this wing, on the top surface, you can actually see the remnants of the Piedmont Airlines markings that Night Fright flew for post-war, which is just amazing detail. It amazed me that you could still see that level of detail, and it sort of adds to the history with Night Fright, and sort of, you know, adds to that knowledge that we've already got, and ties in nicely with the research that, you know, particularly Tom and Neil have been doing over the past few years. Yeah, I mean, we've still been focusing on the internal aspects of the cockpit and the cabin whilst we've been progressing the wings. I mean, clearly the wings have been taking a lot of focus, and there are a large sort of bit of visual progress, but Tom's been beavering away in the cockpit and in the cabin, which is really starting to come on, and we'll really progress that in the new year. So let's go and take a look. But yeah, some nice progress internally, some bits that we will already have seen, and some bits we will have seen on previous updates that have been trial fitted, which you know, are now in position, you know, once and for all. So for example, this ducting here you can see now is finally in place, and has actually you know, has been, the wires for the lamps are in place as well, which is nice. Looks like this is the first time I've seen it actually, but the static line looks like it's in place once and for all now. So that's a really nice bit of progress as well, and obviously very important for the paratrooper jumping that we're going to do once Night Fright's flying. But yeah, just the devil is in the detail really. I mean, I know we spoke before, but Tom's been installing the channels for the litter straps and supports, which is you know, is all part of that detail that we're after really. And you can see a trial fit here of one of the first aid kits that Neil's been working on with the guys at Rigger Depot. So, you know, it won't be long before we can get these items installed in the cabin and the cockpit, and it'll be a completely different place, and it's just going to be a sight to behold really. But something else down here that we've obviously been working on over the last couple of weeks are the windows, which are really cool. We've gone to a lot of trouble to keep those as accurate as possible with the hardware we're using, with the washers and the nuts and bolts, and obviously the plugs or grommets, which are essentially a gun ports in the windows there. So you can see that these are, well, if I can get one out there, they're removable, and I think it's just missing a little almost like a lanyard on there, isn't it? So once we've got that in place, those are gonna look really neat. So we've got most of them installed on this side of the aircraft, and in the new year the other side will be installed as well, which yeah, is just really adding to the detail. One of the things that's definitely on Night Fright's Christmas list is a cargo floor, and that might sound a little bit strange because, as you can see behind me, we've actually got a cargo floor. But funnily enough, there are actually two different versions. What you see behind me here is a slightly later version of a C-47 cargo floor, and of course what we're after is an original wartime model. And the main difference being, you can see this one here is covered with the aluminium sheeting, whereas the earlier version would have had exposed corrugations like this, which albeit is obviously more difficult to walk on and sort of more awkward to use for hauling cargo, hence the sort of the flatter covered, more modern version. But if anybody happens to know where there might be an original C-47 period cargo floor, then we would be delighted to hear from you. We've trawled the internet and eBay and Facebook and spoken to as many museums and people as we possibly can where we might be able to uncover one of these floors. It's one of those things that's a real bugbear to us. You know, if you know it's not right, you know it's not right, and we're absolutely desperate for one of these floors to install in Night Fright. So if anybody can help us, we'd be delighted to hear from you. Tom's still been continuing to work in the cockpit. I mean, there's a lot of progress that needs to happen in the cockpit, and there's a lot of progress that will happen early in the new year. It will come together very quickly, really, once we've got a few bits installed. But you can see that Tom's working on the windscreen and the windows, getting those all sealed and together and installed. We want to make it airtight, really. We want to get the hatches installed, the windows in the cabin and the cockpit, and just get everything a little bit more airtight before we do the final spray in the cockpit area and get those detailed items installed, really. So the cockpit is something we're targeting for some big progress early in the new year. As always, we obviously want to thank, you know, all of our supporters and followers and everyone involved in the project. It's been A difficult year, a different year, but you know, our fan base has definitely grown. The interest in the project and you know the message that we're trying to get out there is definitely growing. So you know, we'd really like to thank everyone for their continued support, and obviously you know the team here at Coventry at Heritage Air Services you know are still doing a terrific job, you know, and everyone else you know involved in the project. Obviously Neil, who you know as you guys all know does a huge amount of work and research in the background, not just on the physical restoration, but you know stuff going on in the background, and obviously to Joe, you know the man behind the camera, who you don't often get to see, for all the fantastic content and coverage that he's providing for us, you know, and everyone else that's you know involved around the outside of the project. You know, we'd obviously like to take the opportunity to wish all of our fans and followers, you know, a very Merry Christmas. It might be a little different this year, but hopefully 2021 will bring better things for all of us. And we've got some great content planned and going out over the Christmas period, some exciting partnerships to announce. So as always, keep your eyes on our website, on our social channels, and have a very Merry Christmas.